on vacation in New York, so our thoughts and prayers are with him for a safe and fun trip with his wife and safe travels home. I will turn it over to Jerry and Rusty for our national anthem. Thank you. Please remain standing, and Henry Clay will lead us in the invocation.
Pray with me, if you will. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this day with praise and thanksgiving. We praise you for your holiness and sovereignty over all things. We thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be members of Rotary and its service to mankind. Please grant us wisdom in all that we do and bless this meeting with fellowship and goodwill. We ask you to lead and guide us so that we may carry out your will and glorify your name. Please bless this food to the use of our bodies and us to loving service. Make us ever mindful for the needs of others. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Joe Jones will come up to welcome our visiting Rotarians and guests. If you take this opportunity, if somebody at each table would hold up the cart bucket. If you have any spare change or dollars, if you please put that to aid Alzheimer's research.
We would like to welcome everyone, our members and our guests to Rotary, the Columbia Rotary Club today. This is a club that takes very seriously the 4-week test, and especially number 3 of that number 3 thing that we assert, and that will it build goodwill and better friendships. And so to do a little of that today, would you please stand, and if you have not met everyone at your table, shake their hand.
I'm Andrew Beth Frank. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. You may be seated. We have only one visiting Rotarian today, and he's my friend Beaver Hardy, who comes from the Columbia Club. Beaver, would you stand and give him a hand, please? Now, if we have any Rotarians who have guests, would you please stand? And John Mark is going to bring our microphone around to those who do have guests. Please give each of the guests a hand after they are introduced.
I'm pleased to introduce Molly Clarkson. She is the newly minted in-house counsel at Siebel's Bruce. And yes, there is a relationship. She is Hunter Clarkson's daughter-in-law. Y'all may remember Hunter Clarkson. He's a longtime Rotary member as well. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Hi, I'm Libby Gober, and I'm delighted to have as my guest once again Sandra Owensby. Sandra is the Executive Director of the Lurie Center, formerly the Capital Senior Center.
I'm Carrie Powers, and today I have with me Mike Shirtliff. He's with Accent Advisors down on Main Street. He's the newest member of the Irma Chamber, so if you join my chamber, I make you come to Rotary.
I believe that takes care of all of our guests. We welcome you, and we hope you will come back to see us again. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you to our visiting guests for being here today. We'd now like to turn it over to Bob Crutchfield for Health and Happiness.
And this will be short because I've known about it for a couple hours. Let me mention a couple things to you. Charlie Cates had surgery, so you want to keep him in your prayers. John Dacus, who's here, John was explaining to me earlier he had an ablation procedure. I'm not sure I know what that is. Well, I do know now because he told me, but he didn't know until he found out he had to have it. But anyway, he's doing well. And by the way, I think 30 or 40 of you told me there's a ball game tonight. Alabama and Clemson. Matter of fact, Michael Kahn even showed me who he was for. Where's Michael? You got something you want to share with him? Yeah. And I'll tell you something that's just kind of interesting is that today John Johnson is presiding over the meeting and Brad Smith is the speaker. And when John came back from Iraq, he made a presentation to the club and Brad did the health and happiness on that particular day. Just kind of a turnaround that Kirk was explaining to me. I saw Reese Williams. Reese, stand up. I want to talk about you for a minute. Yeah, you can. Oh, stand if you're able. I'm sorry. All right, there's a thing that I read here a couple weeks ago, and what's interesting is when I came in last Monday, I think it was Wes doing Health and Happiness, and I said, you know what, I've got something on Reese Williams, but I can't remember exactly what it is. He said, Bob, you're the fourth person that said they had something on Reese Williams, couldn't remember what it was. But anyway, I found it, and it's an article that says 2 USC law students received D. Reese Williams III Trial Advocacy Award. And I think it's important for you to know that the South Carolina chapter of the American Board of Trial Advocates, a by invitation organization of which Reese Williams has been a member since 1989, created the Advocacy Award in 2009. In 2000, Reese served as president of the national organization. He was South Carolina's Trial Lawyer of the Year in 2006. He's a past president of the Richland County Bar. He often helps teach advocacy skills to other attorneys. He has a long history of commitment to legal education, speaking frequently at workshops and seminars throughout the country. He's also appeared at dozens of trial demonstrations in more than 30 states, and he's taught at the National Trial Academy and the National Judicial College. He's served as a guest speaker at the USC School of Law, which is his alma mater, and he himself presented the award to the 2 students that I think Reese deserves a nice sound on his part. Okay, let me close by telling you that I know if you read the state newspaper, you have seen 4,500 ads on this magazine. This is one of the greatest magazines that they've put out. What it is, it says Community of Heroes. You don't realize that in this 80-page magazine, there's probably 14 pages talking about the girls' basketball team reaching the Final Four. There's a lot in here about the flood victims and the help they got. Our own Elliot Powell's picture, I think, is in here as well. You had a lot of tragedy last year too, like the murders in Charleston. There's a lot written in here. But anyway, the state newspaper's got a lot of these. And I told them that I just thought it was great, but looking at the newspaper ad, you couldn't really tell what it was. And since I put these on tables, if you look at it, the first 5 or 6 I gave out, somebody said, I want to buy one. They're $5, okay? And for every one that we sell, the club gets to keep $1. And we only brought about 30 or 40 today, so based on, if maybe one of us, I think. We'll bring more back next week. But anyway, if you get a chance, these are available. And matter of fact, today, when the meeting's over, I or John Monk or both of us will be out here in the lobby for those who do want to buy one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. And now let's turn it over to Roger Colson for a recap of the bell ringing campaign.
It's possible to do it down here. We just want to say thank you to everybody who participated this Christmas season. It was a tremendous effort. And not surprisingly, the Midlands was number 2 in all of North and South Carolina in the amount of funds raised through the Red Kettle program. And we were only second to that other state capital that we don't like to talk about too much, but it was very, very close. The total this year that we raised overall was $387,210.43. And the Columbia Rotary Club, which took a significant number of kettle days at many of your favorite locations, raised $8,550.43. So there's where the 43 cents came from. And so it gives me a great deal of pleasure to recognize the team captains at those locations. And I see that some of the team captains are actually sitting together today. So perhaps they put their strategies together and how to do well. We're going to call you up, and there are folks that want to get a picture of us. And who knows, you might be on the front cover of something or other later on. But at Greens, the team captain that won first place this year was Michael Kahn, and it was with a total of $751.51. And we just have a little bell for you to practice. And so if you'll stay here. Then at Vilo, I'm not sure, Elliot Powell, is he here today? I don't think he is. But congratulations to Elliot. At Vilo, they did $260.39. And then at the Piggly Wiggly, Wade Carlisle, if you'll come up. Wade's group raised $329.69 at Piggly Wiggly, so congratulations. And then last but not least, we added Walmart back as a possible location. And Doug Cochran, are you here? Doug's group did $403.71. Major, turn around. I'm going to turn around. I just want to get Elliot's bell out there. All right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Roger, to you and the Salvation Army for all the work y'all do in the community and letting us be a part of this great program every year. Thank you to all our members who took time out of the holiday Christmas season to go out and raise money for the Salvation Army. I would now like to turn it over to Adam Jordan for a mid-year membership update.
Thank you, John. President Mark asked me to speak today about membership, but him putting me on the agenda today was not without strategic forethought. I'm probably the only Alabama grad in the room. I think he wanted me up here to balance out John Johnson. I'm not going to comment on the game tonight. Make no predictions. I do want to give you some insights from my perspective. This is really aimed at you Clemson fans in here. I grew up a Clemson fan, so I'm sort of a double agent. You may hear from Carolina fans throughout the last few weeks that they're rooting for you, that they'd like to see the championship trophy come home to the state. Let me tell you, it's a lie. They stop me in the grocery store, when I'm walking my dog, in my office, and they whisper quietly, "Roll Tide." Now, much has been said about the different styles of the coaches, Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban. I can't think of two more different people, but they share one common trait, and that trait has led them to success tonight. they both have a relentless focus on recruiting. Now, there's a lesson here for our club. Just as recruiting is crucial to the success of a football program, it's crucial to the success of a Rotary Club. Now, because of your efforts, we have achieved a top-rated class so far this year. We have 13 new members, with 4 more in the queue, and we're +9 in total membership for the year. That's something to be celebrated, so thank you to each of you who sponsored a new member. However, taking the long view, we are still 36 members less than we were 5 years ago, so there's much work to be done. Some of you may wonder, how do you sponsor a member? It's very simple. The form for sponsorship is on our website. You can email it to me, you can give it to me or President Mark at one of the meetings, whatever works for you, we will take it from there. I want to remind everyone, we have goals for the club for this year, individually and collectively. Individually, we're asked for everyone to bring 2 guests throughout the year, and we're targeting a 500-person guest total for the entire club. Maybe you've been waiting on a presidential candidate to come before you bring a guest. Next week is your week. So Martin O'Malley will be here. It'll be a great opportunity to bring a guest to Rotary. Finally, we wrapped up the VIP program this fall. Happy to get feedback on that. Happy to get other ideas that you may have about how we can continue to innovate and make our membership process more efficient. Let's take a page from the Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney playbook and be relentless recruiters of those men and women who embody service above self. Thanks.
Adam, thank you for your accurate assessment of our community and all those that we serve with and revealing the truth of how they really feel. I think you're probably spot on, that's okay. But thank you for all you're doing for the club this year. You're doing a great job leading our membership. So thank you for all you're doing. Now I'd like to turn it over to John Bacus to introduce our program.
Good afternoon. Before we talk about the program and this very special fellow who's going to present that to us today, I have a little information I want to give you that probably is not known to you. So you are aware that money has been coming into our state to assist with flood rebuilding from Rotary, from Rotary clubs and Rotary districts around the country. We have received here somewhere in the range of $12,000, $13,000. Some of that money's been given to our members who suffered flooding. The rest of it is held back for something I'm going to tell you about in just a minute. But even more money has come into our district from other districts around the country and other clubs around the country, and our district has taken in around $30,000 to be used for flood victim assistance and relief. And so what has happened with that district money is we put a committee together to try to decide how to utilize that money as best we can in the Midlands. And the first thing we did was to give $5,000 to Homeworks. And I think most of you are familiar with Homeworks here in our community. Homeworks had a project going the end of December entirely devoted to helping flood victims do rebuilding or clean out or whatever needed to be done to help those folks. It was an all-volunteer effort. A number of Rotarians volunteered in that program, and we did give $5,000, which was a significant check for Homeworks in that project. Now, one of the other things we're doing from the district standpoint is there is an organization that has come to town called the St. Bernard Project. And I think some of you probably remember the St. Bernard Parish in New Orleans that was wiped out, completely wiped out in Katrina. This organization was started down there. It's an all-volunteer group that's been rebuilding homes in New Orleans since Katrina. And in those 10 years, the St. Bernard Project has rebuilt 600 homes in New Orleans, in the St. Bernard district. They've also been to Joplin, Missouri after the tornadoes there, and have rebuilt a large number of homes. They've been working for 2 years in the aftermath of Sandy on Long Island and the coast of New Jersey, rebuilding homes there. They have made a commitment to come to Columbia for the next 2 to 3 years to rebuild somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 homes a year in our community. Rotary is trying to align with St. Bernard Project here to be a supporter of theirs in our community. And it's kind of one of those things nobody knows about, nobody knows they're here, not very many people know they're here. But they are a unique organization, all volunteers, started by people who just went into the St. Bernard district 10 years ago and started working and just kept working and working, and the organization got larger and very effective. And I'm just really pleased that Rotary can be part of that. Now, one of the other things we're doing with that district money is we have, the clubs in Columbia have picked 5 families for us to adopt in the Columbia area. And those families are people who suffered greatly and need help and don't know where to get the help. And our club is co-adopting a family with the Capitol Club downtown. And I've got the fellow's name here. I don't see it right now. But anyway, the gentleman is a single dad. He lives in the South Beltline district area of Columbia, which was severely damaged, and his house was wiped out. He's not sure whether he can rebuild it all or not. And Allison Hank, a member of our club, is leading the effort for our club. She worked for a home remodeling company here in Columbia, so she knows what she's doing. And she has been assisting this gentleman who has 2 children, a single dad with 2 children, and they are trying to help him figure out whether or not he can rebuild it all, whether his house will have to be demolished, whether he could even put another house in the area because the floodlines are going to be redefined in his neighborhood. And so they've offered a tremendous amount of assistance through through different avenues, and really have spent very little money so far. But we are going to give the money that's left. Our board has to vote to do this, but I think we're at a point where we're going to give the money that we have left, the money that's come into our club, in the range of $2,000 to $3,000 to this project to help this dad and his children. And they are displaced. They're completely out of their house. We will also get some money from the district fund, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 or $5,000. We will have volunteer opportunities for members of our club and the Capitol Club to help this family when we get to the point where we can decide what actually can be done to help them, whether we're going to rebuild, tear down, start over, help him find another home somewhere else or whatever. But he'll need all new appliances, furnishings, etc. Everything in his house was wiped out. So I just wanted you to know that there is a lot of participation going on with Rotary in the flood relief effort in the community, and I'm real excited about it. I'm real excited about the opportunity to work with the St. Bernard Project. I think that's going to be a unique thing, and hopefully something that will give Rotary some visibility as well in terms of our alliance with them if we can get that all worked out. So I just wanted you to know that's happening. There will be opportunities. We will, Carrie, what I'd like to do is get Allison's contact information out in our newsletter this week. And so if any of you would like to volunteer to help when the time comes with our adopted family, you can contact Allison and she will let you know what might be able to be done. I'm trying to find a surveyor for her who will do a flood delineation for them at a low cost right now. So there are lots of different ways we can help without actually taking a hammer and going in to pull out drywall or whatever. So think about how you might be able to serve in this particular situation. And if you feel there's an opportunity, contact Allison if you would. Thank you. That's a lot of information, and I hate to delay introducing our speaker to you because this is a special fellow that I get to introduce. I am really honored to introduce my friend and spiritual mentor, Dr. Bradley Smith. Brad is the senior pastor at Eastminster Presbyterian Church. He's been there since May of 2009. And when that position came open in our church was in a slow decline at that point. And a lot of people, when we knew we needed to find somebody else, a lot of folks in our church said, we know just the guy for the job. But unfortunately, he was really committed to the Super Bowl of Caring. He was the executive director of it and had grown it from a very small community-wide project to a national project. And he was excited about what he was doing there. And fortunately, he was able to determine that it was God's will for him to come to Eastminster Presbyterian Church. And it has been a real blessing for our congregation to have him there. We are no longer a church in slow decline. It is a church, a vibrant church of disciples and community service folks. It is fun to watch. The church is growing. There's so much energy and good humor brought to our church by Brad Smith that it's wonderful to be part of it. And I'm sure you all felt the same way working with him in Super Bowl of Caring. Previously, as I mentioned, Brad was the executive director for 9 years of Super Bowl of Caring. He actually is the founder of Super Bowl of Caring and has stayed with it and grown it into a great nationwide charity. Brad still serves on the board of the Super Bowl of Caring. Brad received his Doctor of Ministry from the Columbia Theological Seminary, and he also serves on the board at the Columbia Theological Seminary. Brad was awarded the Order of the Palmetto by Governor Hodges, and has also been awarded the Algernon Sidney Sullivan Award from the University of South Carolina. His wife Nancy is a mental health counselor. And I will tell you this about the two of them: they do the most wonderful marriage enrichment program I have ever been part of, and I think we have another one coming up. Isn't that right, Brad? Shortly. So I don't know whether we can take any outside participants in that because we fill it up in the church. It is a great, great program, but he and his wife do a great job of that. They have 3 wonderful children. And are great residents of our community, and I welcome Brad Smith.
Thank you, John, for the opportunity to speak. And after introductions like that, you sort of just want to say, well, it's all going to be all downhill from here, so I'm just going to leave. But thank you for those kind words. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be back with you all. I was a member of this group for some number of years, and then one Monday a number of you got together and said, Brad, we've found a great opportunity for you. It's elsewhere. Please leave. And, service above self is at the heart of the gospel. It is the heart of who we are created to be, whatever faith perspective we come from. And that is what drew me to Rotary, and that is something I still very much value about Rotary, is that it brings people from all different backgrounds together under that umbrella of service above self, and so much good is done through this organization. So I thank you for that. Super Bowl of Caring. People want to know, well, how to begin. So here's the story I'm going to tell you. I was a senior at the University of Georgia, where I did my undergraduate work. And I began my senior year, and I looked at those who had been seniors before me, and they had gone into this great abyss called work. And we would get reports occasionally from those who had gone before us, rather than taking classes beginning at noon, whether we needed to or not, of having to be there by 8 o'clock in the morning and working until 5 or 6 at night. It sounded frightening. It sounded overwhelming. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was to do. So I was at church one morning and I looked up at the preacher and I thought to myself, this is it. Preachers work how many days a week? 1 day a week. How many hours do you have to work that 1 day a week? Right? Well, sometimes we go over a little bit. Okay, an hour 15. So I thought, surely, Lord, this is what you must want me to do. So then from there, I went to seminary. I went to Columbia Theological Seminary. And while I was at Columbia, I learned that there aren't just regular pastors, but there's something called an associate pastor. An associate pastor do a little something else, but then they end up and they preach about 1 time a month. And I thought, Lord, this must be what I'm supposed to do, is be an associate pastor. And so I would preach 1 time a month for an hour a month. And I did that for 12 years out here at Spring Valley Presbyterian Church in Northeast Columbia. And then after those 12 years of working that 1 day a month, I found myself exhausted. And I thought, what do I do now? What do I do now? And then it came to me. Super Bowl comes how many times a year? How many days a year? Are you with me? I had it. 1 day a year is all I had to work. And I thought, surely, Lord, this must be what I'm supposed to do. So that's the story of the Super Bowl of care. I would tell that. My wife always says, now, where is it you go? What is it you do all the time? Actually, the story is a little different than that, but rather than my telling you, I want to share it by way of video, in about a 3.5-minute video that tells the story of this wonderful, I think beautiful, grassroots movement of grace that was born and was built right here in the Midlands of South Carolina. Can we show that video?
This Super Bowl, 140 million people will tune in to watch the big game, while 50 million Americans are facing hunger. That's over 500 stadiums filled with people in need. And there's another need, a need to move beyond ourselves, to pull together to make a difference. Tapping the energy around the big game, Super Bowl of Caring mobilizes ordinary people to do extraordinary good in their local communities. What is Super Bowl of Caring? Super Bowl of Caring was started with a youth pastor's prayer. Lord, even as we enjoy the Super Bowl football game, help us be mindful of those who are without a bowl of soup to eat. The prayer led to an idea that he shared with his youth group, to ask people to give $1 a food item on that Sunday. The youth got it. They recruited other groups to join them, planting the seeds they hoped would grow Super Bowl of Caring. And the movement did grow, reaching all 50 states. Community leaders, NFL teams, and even presidents have been inspired by the vision. Since that first collection, over $100 million has been generated for local charities across America. But the vision is bigger still, to inspire 100 million people each year to move beyond themselves, to give in a small way to do great good. And we are continuing to grow and evolve. Through our National Youth Advisory Board program, we train young people from across the country to be hunger and poverty advocates in their communities. We give participants a hands-on opportunity to experience giving by hosting a service blitz, where volunteers donate time at local charities the Saturday before the big game. So how do you get involved? Hold your own Super Bowl of Caring collection. Register online at superbowl.org to receive your free materials. Donate 100% of your collection to the charity of your choice. Just remember to let us know how much you collected. If you can't hold a collection yourself, find a collection or service blitz in your area. You can also consider giving directly to Super Bowl of Caring. All money donated will be used to mobilize those locally and across the country. Every $1 we receive generates about $19 for charities. What is Super Bowl of Caring? Super Bowl of Caring is you. It's everyone who strives to make a difference. It's a timeless way to address the current needs of your local community. And we have a lot of work to do. With 140 million of us tuning into the Super Bowl, what if we all decided to work together to serve our communities? We could make incredible plays in the fight against hunger and poverty in this country. $1, one can at a time.
That's a quick overview. I'm going to pick up on a couple of themes there and explain them to you, but first I want to introduce the person who made that video, Jamie Clark, who is the longest serving employee of the Super Bowl of Caring. We hired Jamie in April of 2005, has now been with the organization almost 11 years. And way back in 2005, the internet was just becoming something that was commonly accepted and used, but for an organization like Super Bowl of Caring that is about grassroots, that's about leveraging, our hiring of Jamie was one of the best decisions that we made. So Jamie not only handles the website, but he makes videos like this. So this is Jamie Clark. Who has just come on board is the South Carolina coordinator. So we have two full-time people with Super Bowl of Caring who are based right here in Columbia. Sumner's task is to opportunity is to engage and involve folks in participating in the effort, as well as raising the funds to help underwrite making it happen. So I want to pick up on some a little bit. Here's my visual aid for Super Bowl of Caring. Here's a soup pot. Here's you. Better yet, here are the 140 million people that watch the game on television. The most widely watched, the biggest planned event in the life of our country is the Super Bowl football game. If even 100 million of us would put a buck in a soup pot, we would raise $100 million. With 100% of it going directly from whatever group collects it to a soup kitchen, a food bank, or some other helping agency chosen by those people. Salvation Army, Women's Shelter, Transitions, Harvest Hope, Cooperative Ministry. We don't touch the money. We trust people in their respective communities, their respective organizations, to know their community and to give 100% of what they collect directly to the charity they choose. All Super Bowl asked is that the totals be reported. That's how you raise $100 million. Just like the CART project. Who knew when that began over in Sumter that however many years later, here in Columbia, it would be announced that over $5 million has been raised because of Rotarians putting a few cents each in the CART bucket. And so it is with the Super Bowl of Caring. But I want to unpack it just a little bit. Because for me, the joy in it is that it helps feed hunger. One, it helps feed people that are hungry. Super Bowl weekend is the beginning of February. It's the coldest time of the year. The Thanksgiving and Christmas compassion rush has passed by 6 or 8 weeks. And there are agencies struggling to make ends meet to do that which they're called to do to provide for people that are hungry and hurting. They need those resources. 1 in 5 children under 18 in our country is born in a home that is food insecure. It doesn't mean they're hungry at that moment, but it means if they go without a paycheck, they're in serious trouble. And there aren't many 1 to 18-year-olds who choose poverty. They're unfortunate not to have been born into the families you and I were born into. But God's created us in community. It is our privilege to reach out and to care for others. One thing Super Bowl of Caring does is help people that are hungry and hurting in their stomachs. A second thing Super Bowl of Caring does is that it helps those who have a hunger for opportunity. Young people, high schoolers. When Super Bowl of Caring began, and I was the one, God knew I needed help. You've heard my story of my academic career. Okay, so God knew I needed help. He gave me this line of a prayer. Lord, even as we enjoy the Super Bowl football game, help us be mindful of those who are without a bowl of soup to eat. That was it. Now, like with yesterday's sermon at Eastminster, I'm not sure anybody remembers, but I remember the line of that prayer. And it stuck with me. And some months later, it clicked. Lord, even as we enjoy the Super Bowl football game, help us mindful of those without a bowl of soup to eat. So many people gather on Sundays. What would happen if everybody gave $1? I shared that idea with the young people of the Spring Valley Presbyterian Church. I said, if you're interested, come by the church after school. Half a dozen of them came. They sat there, and I said, guys, we can do this, or we can ask other churches to join with us. One said, I go to Spring Valley Baptist. I'll ask them. One said, I go to Good Shepherd Lutheran. I'll ask them. That's for Bishop Donji's over there. I'm giving the Lutheran a plug. Okay. So, I've got a friend that goes to the Methodist church. I'll help them. I've got a friend that goes to the Catholic church. I'll give them. So, that very first year, right here in Columbia, 22 churches participated. $5,700 was raised. The kids loved it. They made the difference. They stood there with the soup pots. We had them choose the charity. Why? Limited resources. What's the best stewardship of those dollars? Is it giving it to Harvest Hope? Is it giving it to Washington Street Soup Cellar? And so it grew and grew and grew out there at Spring Valley Presbyterian Church until it was hitting better than $1 million that was raised. We established it as a separate 501c3. It was very much ecumenical. Began reaching all over the country so that now, in aggregate, of over it's about $108 million that's been reported, given to soup kitchens and food banks across America. All of that going to help people that are hungry and hurting. But the best part of it helps people that are hungry and hurting, but those that are hungry for opportunity, and those are our 14-year-olds and our 15-year-olds and our 16-year-olds who hear day after day, don't do that. You're not ready to drive. You're not ready to be out that late. You're not ready for that decision. But here is this simple, simple thing that lets those 14 and 15 and 16-year-olds who are dealing with insecurity, who are dealing with anxiety, who are dealing with acne, who are dealing with questions of self-worth. Adolescence ain't easy. And I saw those young people at Spring Valley Pres. We helped make that happen. We raised that money. We can make a difference. God can use us. Human beings are all hungry for opportunity to move beyond themselves, to experience service above self. It begins in adolescence. And Super Bowl of Caring is not a panacea, but it gives young people a chance to see that they can make a difference, okay? That's our second hunger. First hunger is of the gut. The second hunger is in our young people. The third hunger is in us. The hunger for hope. Is our world going to hell in a handbasket? Is our country going to hell in a handbasket? Who of you thinks that when you watch the evening news or pull up whatever website you pull up for news? The discouragement, the dissension, the disengagement. And this simple, it's not a panacea. It won't bring in the kingdom. But wouldn't it be fun if one one day you're watching the Super Bowl on TV, and at halftime they come on and they say, wow, we want to tell you about something, this little thing that began with a bunch of kids in Columbia, South Carolina, and it's taken off, and all over the country today, people collected $1 or a non-perishable, and $100 million has been raised and sent to soup kitchens and food banks. Every young person watching that helped makes it happen, and every one of us might be reminded of the power and of the good and of the beauty when we all pull together. When we all pull together and pitch in. Because we're forgetting how to do that. We're forgetting how to do that. A hunger of the gut, a hunger of opportunity for young people, and a hunger for hope that exists in all of us. We need little tiny mustard seeds that get that big because they remind us of the power of hope and of working together, even with people we disagree on politically or economically or whatever it may be. Maybe that's pie in the sky thinking. But despite the skeleton staff Super Bowl of Caring has ever had and that it has now, $8 million was raised just last year in groups in all 50 states. Over 500 organizations here in South Carolina participated, raised $200 grand, better than $100 grand, going to soup kitchens and food banks right here in Columbia. But here's the thing. Service above self. I sat at your seat. Every one of you has a good heart. You wouldn't be here. Every one of you is community-minded. You wouldn't be here. But I also know it's easy to build a tolerance, sort of an immunity to Rotary speakers. I think the people said amen. So here's what I've done. I've reached into my children's vast inheritance. And I went to the bank this morning and I said, I want to have a couple hundred $1 bills. And I've taped them with Sumner and Jamie's help to those envelopes. And I want you to take them. Because each of these $1 bills and each of these envelopes is a mustard seed. And some of you might leave saying, all right, I tolerated another Rotary Club speaker. I don't have to watch it online. Y'all do. Is that what you do with these? Okay. They started that when I was here. In your office, your place of worship, your neighborhood, for your grandchildren or nieces or nephews' place of worship, or the Super Bowl party you go to? What if you were to say, hey, let's do it? Now, wait a minute, it's very complicated. We can't do it. Here's what you do. You take a pot and you say, actually we can. Everybody put $1 in. That's all there is to it. Decide on the charity. Send the money. Report the total. I don't know what there are, 125? How many congregations? How many schools? Children's schools? Grandchildren's schools? Offices? Maybe nothing will happen with it. We've gotten NFL owners on board. Bob McNair, a good USC alum, owner of the Houston Texans, has been very supportive. The Super Bowl is going to be in Houston next year. It'd be awesome to get all 32 owners on board. I worked at it for a while. The Spirit's still behind it. There are still good things happening. But we need people to believe enough to act. You think of getting Rotary Club to act is tough. You ought to try getting NFL owners or the NFL. I've tried getting them to talk about it, State of the Union addresses, you name it. For it to be what it's going to be, it takes ordinary nobodies like me and people like you. Because if ordinary people pull together, extraordinary good can happen. And because of that, $110 million has been raised, and that's pretty good. Better than that is the impact it's had on young people. I'll tell you the story that made me do Super Bowl of Caring full time. I was at the phone bank. It used to be everybody would phone in their totals. They called me over to a telephone and they said, Brad, talk to this guy. He's so excited. So I pick up the phone. This fellow says, I'm from Saudi Daisy, Tennessee, a suburb north of Chattanooga. We're at a tiny new church development. Our church of 63 people raised $4,600. Oh my gosh, what'd you do? Well, we got our youth group to do it, and then we got the other youth groups in town to do it, and then we went to Walmart, and we said, Walmart, can we stand out front with the soup pots on Super Bowl Sunday and get people to put money in the pot? Walmart said, yes. That's awesome. He said, then we said, Walmart, will you match what we raise? And I thought, oh, now you're overstepping, young guy. But before I could share my wisdom with him, he said, Walmart said yes. You could tell this fellow was young. He called back a second time, so excited about it. He called back a third time. I started thinking, man, this is a 1-800 number. I got to raise the money for this. And that's when he said, Brad, I want to tell you something. Doing this has been awesome. We got all the churches, and our church did it, all the churches in town. We raised $2,300. We asked Walmart to match it. We raised $4,600. He said, well, what I want to tell you is that 2 years ago, I was playing softball on my church softball team. And somebody hit a high fly to the outfield, and I went for it, and so did another guy on our team. And we collided. And I've not been able to use my arms or my legs since. And he said, I've wondered at times why I'm still around. But organizing this has shown me that God can still use me to make a difference. That was in the year about 2000. I thought I was just raising money to feed hungry people and to try to get people working together. And in that moment I realized in no uncertain terms God was doing kingdom business in the midst of it. And when long after that I began doing it full time. Take your envelope. There's a poster. It tells you steps to participate. You can use the poster to promote it. There are 2 stickers you can use to put on whatever you find. Elegant vases, there's no better use for them than a Super Bowl sticker. But that's what the Super Bowl of Caring is. And I hope that you will not just listen to this talk, but go get somebody, some group, some organization, your child, your grandchild, your nieces, your nephews. Get others to participate. Give online. This one's not a participant activity. I've got 30 seconds for questions. Are there any questions? I want to thank you all for this little clock. Will you hold that clock up for me? Yeah, John Bakes went out and bought this just today. Y'all didn't know they do this for speakers. Robin Norman, yes ma'am.
One year we did the Super Bowl of Caring. And I will tell you that people in retirement communities so often feel that they have no use, that their time is over, and that they have no way of contributing back to the community. And I think retirement communities are an excellent place to give them some hope to know that they are doing something to impact their immediate community. And I know it works very well at Step Post. You all know retirement community, this Presbyterian community. Just consider that one. I really do think that's very important.
Absolutely. There are a number of retirement communities across the country that do it, and it is awesome to see the pictures that come in from those. Any other questions? All right. So, how long is that video?
About a minute.
We have a 60-second video right here from Columbia, South Carolina, fresh off the editing, and we can still be done. I've got 4 minutes. A preacher hates stuff. Here we go.
2,000 people live in food insecure households.
1 out of every 6 people in our capital city don't know where their next meal is coming from.
the need is big, but together we can make a difference.
With an idea that started in Colombia over 25 years ago.
Super Bowl of Caring has been motivating youth groups to use the energy surrounding the big game in a nationwide effort to tackle hunger.
We've come a long way. Over $110 million has been raised to fight hunger nationally.
But we have so much more we need to do. Register at superbowl.org to participate with Super Bowl of Caring this season.
Help Colombia change the game.
Thank you all. If any of you have questions about participation, the website or the phone number, or speak with Sumner, Jamie, or I. Thank you all for your time.
Brad, thank you for your time today. Please accept this from the club. You remind us of the saying, if it is to be, it's up to me. So we appreciate your vision and your leadership and all that you do. President-elect John, next week's program.
Before I do that, I want to mention one thing to you. He was a pretty good member of our club back in the day, so as he leaves, if any of you want to grab him and say, how about joining back up with us? That would be a good thing. We could use him. I do want to tell you, next week we have former Governor Martin O'Malley, one of the 3 Democratic candidates for President of the United States, will be here. So I hope, even though it's a holiday, Martin Luther King Day next week, I hope that you will join us, celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King at the same time we hear a great American, and he was a wonderful governor in Maryland. So please bring your Democratic friends. You can bring some Republicans if you want. You may have to drag them in, but please come, join us. I think it'll be a very informative and enjoyable meeting next week.
Thank you, John. Jerry and Rusty.
Rusty.
We'll close us.
For stations